We were created for peace, a peace between us and our Creator. But we've allowed hurry to get in the way. The problem isn't that we have a lot to do. It's that we have too much to do, and the only way to keep up is to hurry. We're stressed out, overworked, depressed, stretched too thin. How do we slow down? How do we reverse the effects of hurry? How do we return to peace? How do we get full life? The answer lies in our rhythm.
Well, how would you like to have more time to do the things you care about? What if you could start your day rested, or spend more time with your spouse or kids, or just more time to relax, or maybe pick up that hobby that gives you extra energy? If you apply what I'm going to talk about today, you can. Here's something a lot of people miss that you're going to want to remember. God gives us all the time we need to do the things we need to do. Now, you might be thinking of your schedule and wondering, how could that be true? You may feel like you never stop, you never get it all done. But if you can teach yourself this one rhythm, you could complete everything you need to do, get it done, and still have time left over for fun, friends, family, and rest. So keep listening, and I'm going to tell you what that is. Today, we're in week 2 of a series called Rhythm. We're learning about rhythms we can all implement into our lives that'll make it better, strengthen our faith, deepen relationships, even deepen the relationship we have with Jesus. Jesus made us a promise in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, that I think way too many people miss out on that they could have. It says this in verse 28. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." We all know that life can bring us weariness and burdens, but Jesus makes us a promise right here. And that promise is, when we experience those things in life, He offers us rest. If that's His promise, and we can all identify with being weary and burdened, then what prevents us from experiencing the rest that He promises and we desperately need? See, we tend to view rest like this. We work, and then collapse, and rest, and recharge, and then work, and then collapse, and rest, and recharge, and then repeat it over and over again throughout life. But finding the rest that Jesus offers, it won't be found in a long vacation, trip to the mountains or the beach, or a strict discipline. But where can it be found? It can be found in developing new rhythms of living that will lead us to that rest He promises and wants to give us. And that's what this series is about. Developing a rhythm of life that allows you to rest and to live at a sustainable pace. That's the life God has for you. Now, if you missed last week, just go to our website, lifepointechurch.com, or our app if you've downloaded that, and you can get caught up. Now, today's rhythm, that's going to give you more time to do the important things, to play with your kids uninterrupted, to hang out with friends without constant distractions, take your spouse on a date without stopping to check your messages on social media over and over again, to manage time rather than it managing you, to rest, to enjoy all that God has. Here's the rhythm. It's one word. And the word is no. Let me explain. See, the quickest way to the rest that Jesus offers is learning when to say no. A no at the right place can lead to a more sustainable pace of life. Now, it might seem counterintuitive in our fast-paced culture of production and profit, and it may feel like saying no means that you're going to accomplish less. But in reality, a properly placed no to something that's in front of you will bring a new focus, will create new margin, and you'll actually accomplish more and enjoy more by learning to develop this rhythm of saying no. Now look, I know we all got a lot to do. And you may feel like the job you have just has you on all the time, 24/7, never getting to rest. But I want to challenge you to go against that feeling of having to always be on and to develop the rhythm of simply saying no. A great example of saying no is found in the story of a man who lived about 450 years before the time of Christ. He learned how to say no. And from that, he accomplished all that God had for him to do. His name is Nehemiah. His story's in a book in the Old Testament by the same name, and it takes place at a time in history when the Jewish nation, they're in exile. In that day, cities were built behind fortified walls, which protected not just the city, it protected its people and the temple of God, but it also represented God's protection of them. So while living in exile, Nehemiah finds out that the walls of Jerusalem are in ruins, and it wrecks him to know that this holy city was without all that protection. So he goes before the Persian king Artaxerxes and he makes a request. Listen as I read Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. The king said to me, "What is it you want?" Then I prayed to the God of heaven, and I answered the king, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah where my ancestors are buried so that I can rebuild it." So he's asking the king if he can go undertake this huge project of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, and the king grants him that request and says yes. So Nehemiah does all that's necessary to get ready for this big project. He knew the responsibility God had placed before him to rebuild this wall. And so he set out to do just that. Along the way, he faced opposition and potential distractions. And in the face of all that, we're about to learn something very powerful about saying no. Because other leaders of that day, they didn't like what Nehemiah was doing, so they kept requesting his presence. They kept asking him to come and meet with them to distract him from the work that God had for him. They kept saying, "Please come and talk to us about this." Over and over they would ask, "Come meet with us. Come down and meet with us." And finally, Nehemiah responds, and he gives us a great example of what it means to say no and how to say no at the right time. And it's recorded in Nehemiah chapter 6, beginning at verse 3. I sent messengers to them with this reply: "I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave and go down to you?" 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. So what Nehemiah is saying is, I don't have time to come and talk to you. He said no because something greater guided him. And he knew that if he said yes, it would slow the progress of what God had for him to do. Why should I stop? Why should I stop doing what I'm doing to come and do what you want? And here's what God did with Nehemiah's no. God had this task for him, and he didn't let anything get in the way of it. He knew when to say no, and in 52 days, the project was complete. It may have never gotten done if he would have allowed all those distractions to take over and pull him away from the important work that God had for him. Now, Nehemiah clearly knew a few things that allowed him to say no. He would have known that a full schedule doesn't necessarily mean productivity or achievement. It doesn't even mean holiness. You know, we all know someone who wears us out with their inability to slow down and shut down, with their inability to put margin into their schedule and just be. You know the person, they always have to be busy doing something. And if they're in the room with you, say, "Yeah, that's you." That should make for some great conversations after this. Think about your schedule right now. It's probably slammed, just like mine is. But it doesn't mean that we're any more important or productive just because we have a full schedule. You know, the level of access we have to each other in this day is unprecedented. You might get an email at midnight, a text at 6 a.m., an email when you're trying to rest or spend family time or at the dinner table or even going to the bathroom or even right now during church. Most of you are watching me, but you've also got a device in your hand or on your wrist or in your lap that gives everyone immediate access to you. Right now, we can be called, texted, tagged, snapped, DM'd, FaceTime, emailed, and more any time of the day or night. We can't escape it unless we develop a rhythm of saying no. Another thing Nehemiah clearly knew was this: time is not a replaceable asset. You can't buy more of it. You can't roll it over if you don't use it. I still have one of those really old AT&T mobile plans that allows our minutes unused from 1 month to roll over to the next. And it's helpful. But with time, when you spend it, you don't get to roll it over. It's gone forever. Time is something we must submit to. And that reality hits you in the face when you notice the first gray hair, or the first wrinkle, or the first time you jump out of bed and something hurts and you don't know why. Time is not on our side. We can either manage it well or waste it irresponsibly. So Nehemiah recognized that when a distraction came his way, what he should do. I loved what he said. He said, "Why would I stop doing what I'm doing to come and talk to you? Because what I'm doing is so important, I'm not going to stop just to come and do this thing you're requesting." So ask yourself this: what is the important thing in my life? The thing I need to say no for? For Nehemiah, it was the building of the wall for God. That was worth saying no to everything else. What is it for you? There are times you have to say, yeah, that promotion sounds nice, but it's more hours, and I have kids at home, and they need me, so I'm going to have to say no. Or, I know that sounds fun, but we need family time that's not rushed and hurried all the time, so we're going to have to pass and say no. Yeah, you could work more hours and make more money, but how would it affect the relationships in your life? Ask yourself the question, where do I need to say no? So since time is limited, remember, everything you say yes to means you're saying no to something else. So make sure you're saying yes and no to the right things. Beyond the relationships in your life, you need rest. You need time off. You need time just to do nothing. In the book, To Hell with the Hustle, author Jefferson Bethke says this: if you don't have enough time to do nothing, then you don't have enough time. Take time to do nothing so you can accomplish more. God gives us 24 hours every day to get everything done we need to get done, to earn our living, to take care of ourselves, to lead our families, to rest, to sleep, and to recharge. You have to realize this. You know, if there's anything on your list that you can't get done, then there are things on your list that are outside God's will for your life. If you're not experiencing the rest that Jesus promised, then you're wasting time somewhere. The quickest way to the rest Jesus offers is learning when to say no. This is perhaps the hardest rhythm to implement into our lives, because saying no gives us a little FOMO, a little fear of missing out. But you know, in Jesus' ministry, even he said no. And I know you don't have more capacity than he did. Some people live every day thinking they can get it all done, but they can't. During Jesus' ministry, he was constantly being pulled in every direction. And one day he had been healing the sick and driving out demons and performing other miracles, and he was tired. It says that the entire town, and it was the town of Capernaum, was coming out to see him and wanting miracles from him. And he pulled away, and it says this in Mark chapter 1, beginning at verse 35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him. And when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." See, people kept looking for Jesus, and essentially what he says here is, no, I'm not going to go back to that town. We need to go somewhere else. I need to preach, because that's why I'm here. Something else drove Jesus, and that determined what he said yes to and what he said no to. Jesus said no to something that wasn't bad. I mean, healing more people is a good thing, but he had a deeper purpose. That was to preach the good news, to rescue people from their sins. And so he spent his time on the most important things. It's not that hobbies or the side hustle, constant hurry, the long work weeks, it's not that they're bad. It's that God just has something so much better for you, and you'll miss it if you don't learn to just say no. Don't get me wrong. There are times in life when we have to sprint. There are projects and new ventures that may require sprinting for a season. But like I tell the staff at Lifepointe sometimes, hey guys, we're in a season of sprinting right now, but we're going to move back to our marathon pace as quickly as possible. I could physically go outside and sprint for a few minutes, but if I kept going, I'd pass out. One of our biggest cultural problems is that we're conditioned to be in sprint mode all the time. That's why you see burnout, families broken, lack of contentment, jumping from one thing to the other because maybe, just maybe, this one more move is going to bring the relief you're looking for. But relief and rest are right in front of us, offered by Jesus himself. The quickest way to the rest Jesus offers is learning when to say no. Start by doing this. Put some margin into your life. Emotional margin. Leave room for others. Financial margin, so you can leave room for some freedom. Let this be the day you decide to stop spending all of your time and all of your money on things that just aren't that important. So where do you start? It's a great question. Well, if Nehemiah rebuilt Jerusalem's walls in 52 days, if he stayed focused on what God had for him for 52 days and refused to allow anything to pull him away, so can you. So I'm inviting you to join me on a 52-day journey to say no. It's simple. First, determine where you're wasting your time, when technology or an overcommitted schedule is taking you away from what's most important, and start to say no. No, I can't come. No, I can't answer that right now. No, I can't take on another commitment. Whatever is preventing you from enjoying the family and individual rest that Jesus offers, start telling that thing no. Maybe it would help you as you make your to-do list to make another list and call it your to-don't list. That would help you think about where and when you need to say no. I want to see how you do it this rhythm, so I want to invite you to join a Facebook group as long as it doesn't distract from anything else. It's a group called 52 Days of No. You can search for it and get added. But that's where you can post on how you're doing with saying no. You can share your wins, you can share your challenges. I'll make some comments on there occasionally, but join it. Or maybe that's the thing you need to say no to. Or maybe I'll decline everyone who tries to join with a message that says, I knew you couldn't say no. But seriously, if that would encourage you, go join that group and let's work through the next 52 days together. Some of you who are just checking out church, you need to say yes to Jesus before you can say no to the things that keep you from the life that only He can give you. And we would love to guide you through that decision to follow Christ. Just indicate in the chat if you're at one of our moderated services on Sunday, or contact us in any other way. We want you to know that we're here to serve you and guide you through the decision to follow Jesus. I want all of you to imagine your life with margin, where you don't spend every single minute you have, where you're not burned out at the end of the day, and you have time to just be, time to rest. When you get into the rhythm of saying no, and you have time to invest in relationships, in your family, in your kids, your husband or wife, time to rest the way Jesus promises, you're going to enjoy life like you never have before. I believe we can do this, and it all starts with simply saying no.